Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Shit's Hard. I'm your host, Amber. And if the audio is a little whack today, I am recording with both my doors open. It's kind of hot in here and I haven't turned on the AC yet. And it's just so beautiful in LA right now. It's like 75 degrees, not too hot, not too cold. Like it's too gorgeous to not have the doors open. So, if you can hear the birds chirping, it's just the sound of beautiful life. As you can see from the title of this episode, we're having a bit of a hard time. I was talking with one of my friends the other day just about like career, future, like what's in store. I think it's so ironic and like full circle moment that like I've already dropped an episode that's called like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with my life. And this is just like a milestone in the journey. I still don't know what I'm doing with my life. So my friend was kind of talking about like, she's like, I want to open a wellness studio. And like, I have these big dreams of like maybe wanting to like become a yoga instructor and like, where am I headed? And she's so funny. She texted me. She's like, can I just please come over? I'm having such a hard time. And I'm like, of course. But I totally get it because I've been there and I'm not there in the thick of it as much as I used to be. But let's just fucking talk about it. Let's just talk about like not knowing what you're doing with your life. And I think there's something really beautiful about that, especially in your 20s, because not knowing where you're going and being frustrated, it tells me that you're going in the right direction. Like truly. Not that I'm anybody to be giving advice. I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I feel like I don't have a lot of success to speak for. So we're gonna kind of talk about like my life goals in this episode, and then kind of talk about like those feelings of like imposter syndrome and like, am I even really capable of these things? And also like, if my goal is this, like I can see the goal and I know what it is, but like how do I fucking get from point A to point B? Because I think the answer, unfortunately, for me and for my friend is however you want to get there. It's not a set path. It's so frustrating seeing somebody who like, wants to be like a veterinarian. And I'm not saying this is by any way easy, by the way. I'm not saying that. But there is like a clear set path and steps that you need to take to get there. So it's less of a matter of figuring out how, more of a matter of figuring out like, well, I guess it is kind of figuring out like how, but it's like, okay, I need to study. I need to get into med school, all that stuff. Gonna be studying for 8 years. Like the path is there. You just need to take it and like apply yourself. I think where her and I are at right now is like, where am I? And like, here's where I'm at. And there's where the goal is. And I don't know how to get from point A to point B. And it might be like a bit of a zigzag road. And I'm not even entirely sure if that's the goal or something around this goal. And just feeling like, where's this going? And I'm feeling that way. I mean, I'm in season 3 of this podcast and I love it. I have a lot of fun making it. It's not difficult for me to make it. I love the content. And okay, let's just get into my fucking life goals. Okay. Here's what I want in my life. The number one thing I want, like the bigger goal, like the quicker goal that I want, that's big. I want to own property. That's like a financial goal that I have for myself. I'm 24, so I want to be like setting aside money now. Hopefully I can buy a house in the next like 10 years. Like that's a goal that I have. And right now that goal is like, I want to spend a little more time in LA for a couple years, maybe like another year or two. And then I want to move to New York. And when I get to New York, I want to like discover the areas, find out, what I like, what I don't like. A lot of my clients like Brooklyn. They say I would like Brooklyn. So whatever, maybe move to Brooklyn. And eventually I want to buy property there in Brooklyn. I know. Stay with me. You're like, how the fuck, bitch, are you going to afford property in Brooklyn? But I'm going to figure it out. This is more talking about 10 years. Well, this is more talking about like, whatever. Anyways, rich husband. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Not rich husband because I can, I don't need a fucking man to achieve my shit. Okay, let's talk about the how after. So buy property in New York in an area that I like. Then eventually, right, I'm making the monies. Then I move to LA. I move back to LA into an area that I deem I want to be in. And I buy property here. Now I own 2 properties. The goal is so like when I'm in New York, I'm like doing up this property in New York. And if I don't have it like that, I'll rent out the property in New York while I'm in LA. And then do the same thing to the one in LA. And the goal eventually would be to like be able to own both properties and be able to be bi-coastal, which would be like dream life. Mind you, I've never lived in New York. So this is just like this is like the direction I'm headed. But obviously if I move to New York and I don't like it, like whatever, we'll change the plan. It's no big deal. I love LA. I know that. It's beautiful here. The weather's fantastic. It's fucking February and it's 75 degrees. Like, I just talked to my best friend in Ohio. She said it's fucking 15 there and it's freezing. We don't need to try that one out anymore. We know. We know. So I want to try New York and kind of see what the vibes are. But I do know that places like LA and New York are long-term sustainable if you have monies. And they're easier to enjoy if you have monies. So that's also, I have a lot of financial goals too. So yeah, that's like lifestyle goals that I have, is owning property in both places and being able to be bi-coastal and hopefully having a partner who makes good income too, so we can like share these expenses together. And also having a partner who is interested in being bi-coastal. Like if I have a partner who's like, I'm not fucking moving, he needs to fucking get out of the picture. Because the goal is to like be able to, I'm probably not staying in LA for the rest of my life. I'm not opposed to leaving and coming back, but I do need to try some other things before I like dig the roots in, you know? The reason I want to buy property is because, like, I don't know, I want to be a homeowner so bad. I just moved into a house in LA and I'm like renting, but like, I love it. And I think it'd be so fun to like own the property and be able to like make the changes that you want, paint the walls and like do renovations, and like having that architecture and design background, like it certainly excites me to be able to put my own personal touch on like my own house and stuff. Don't get me wrong, I do understand that owning a house comes with like, you know, people say like when you rent, the price of rent is all you'll ever pay. When you have a house, who fucking knows? And especially coming from a design background, who knows once you rip open that drywall, what the fuck is hiding behind? But I think it would be fun, and it'd be like fun for me to have a partner who I could work on those kind of projects with. So that's one goal. How do I get there is another. So obviously I'm a trainer right now and I love training and I'm so grateful for my clients. But I don't think long term it's like the only thing for me. I would love to start to monetize content. I want to work for myself. I want to own my own schedule, and I kind of do as a personal trainer, but I do still work under somebody else. So I would love to get more into content, hopefully be able to monetize my podcast, be able to maybe get some brand deals, sponsorships, potentially sell merch one day. Maybe get paid by the Creator Fund or through YouTube, depending on engagement and viewership. But then again, it's like, how do we get from point A to point B? And also I feel very like, what is my niche? What am I doing? And I do have the answers to those questions now. I know if you've been listening to the podcast, you would know there was a point in time where I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know where this is going. But the answer to that is Shit's Hard is supposed to be a mental health podcast, destigmatizing mental health, and then also just touching on the fact that shit's fucking hard. Life is hard. We can talk about the difficulties and also take a proactive approach of trying to, you know, develop ourselves, personal growth, and just like overall wellness. And it's just like a casual space. It's a chit chat for anybody. Anybody who wants to come and sit down and be like, shit's fucking hard. Relationships are hard. Fitness journey is hard. You know, being a woman is hard, all of this kind of stuff. I just wanted to be a safe space to connect to other people, especially on that episode that I talked about my poor relationship with my mother. The goal for me in talking about things like that is to connect to other people and hopefully make people feel less alone. And so eventually, the only reason that I would want to monetize the podcast, TikTok, whatever, is so that I can do more of that. So like to do more of human connection, to be able to connect to people on the other side of the world who are maybe also struggling with these things that I've struggled with. I love people. I love human connection. It's why I love my job. It's why, you know, being a personal trainer doesn't feel like work for me. I pride myself in having a very close relationship with my clients. You know, we share things and stuff, you know, and you know, for some of my clients, that hour is all they really have away from like their kids or their own responsibilities. And so they're super grateful for it. I'm super grateful for it. And in the meantime, I'm also teaching them, you know, hopefully some really healthy habits that will carry them throughout their life long after they don't know me. So I'm not by any means like unhappy with where I'm at by any means. Like I'm so grateful it's insane what I've done for myself in just the 2 years that I've been out here. It's, a Thursday at 2:30 as I record this episode. The sun is shining. I had a coffee earlier today, and I was sitting outside of Jones in South Pass, my favorite coffee shop in all of LA. And I was like, how lucky am I to be 24 years old on a Thursday at 2 p.m., drinking my coffee, sun's beaming on me, like, my dog's alive and well. Like, I am so glad that I took that leap back in Ohio, quit my job and moved out here. And so looking back, I can see that I've made progress. And I say that to tell you, like, sometimes taking that leap of faith feels scary. But if you have a gut intuition of like, this job isn't for me, maybe this person isn't for me, this career isn't for me, maybe this state isn't for me, I beg of you to get curious and dig a little bit deeper. I'm not saying you have to uproot and change your whole life or quit your job today, but start to really ask yourself, like, okay, well, if I didn't, work this job, what would I be interested in? What would I want to do? Or, maybe if the state isn't serving me, where would I want to move? And maybe just take a trip, That's what I've been doing. I've been going to New York like 2 times a year because I don't think it's time for me to move there yet, but I'm really curious about living there. And it's so important to I don't know, I feel like since I was young, I was taught to silence my, I was raised Catholic, and you are kind of taught to silence your impulses, but at the same time, you're kind of taught to silence your gut and intuition. And that is no bueno. That is not good. And that is not good. So what I'm trying to say here is, like, if you feel a calling, or if you feel a push or a pull, if you feel that you're being pushed out of your job, if you feel like you're being pulled into something else, if another state is calling your name, another country, maybe even, I think you should crack into it, because looking back now, when I decided I wanted to move to LA, I had no fucking idea why. What did that mean? Like, I knew I wasn't happy where I was, and I knew I wasn't happy in the job that I was in, that career or that state. But I had no fucking clue what LA had for me. I had no job here. I had no intention of continuing architecture. I had no intention of going into personal training either. But I just it's like the uncomfortability of not listening to my gut intuition is what pushed me out of Ohio. And looking back, I've been here for 2 years. I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I blindly listened to my gut, blindly trusted myself. And it's all about knowing, you've got you. You will figure it out. You move to another state, maybe you don't like it, you can always come home. Turn around, go back. You'll figure it out, is my purpose, is my point here. I think acting out of fear is just not the way to live your life. And I think it's uncomfortable. I really do. I think mentally and physically, it's very uncomfortable to not listen to your gut intuition and act on those things. So for me, looking back, so glad that I did that. And it's time for me to, unfortunately, I feel like your 20s is to keep doing that over and over again, which it sucks and it's stressful. And obviously, I have that goal of getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable. That's the only way we make progress, but it's always hard. And so I'm feeling that right now with I wanted this job as a personal trainer originally for the flexibility to be able to work on my podcast and work on my content. And right now I'm there. I have the clients. I have that schedule flexibility. I don't work on Thursdays or Sundays. I have a lot of free time. So now it's okay, do the thing you said you were going to do. And I'm trying. So the goal for me short term is to monetize the podcast, start to make my own money, work for myself so I'm in control of the income. Eventually, once I really don't need a job because I work for myself as a content creator and whatever, then is when I want to move to New York. When I don't need, because I don't want to move there and struggle, right? I already moved to LA and struggled, and that was not my favorite thing to do. Don't get me wrong. If you're making a big change or a career change, you're going to have to struggle a little bit, especially if you are deep into a career and you're kind of restarting. You kind of have to start from the bottom, and that sucks. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. That sucks. It's uncomfortable, but obviously it comes down to how bad do you really want it and what are you willing to sacrifice to get it? Because it's going to be uncomfortable, but not forever. it's gonna be, not so great, cheap living, like fucking balling on a budget for a little bit, but not forever. If you really invest in yourself, you can make it to the other side. And for me, it sounds so worth it. And so I'm trying to hype myself up to be like, Amber, you are worth it. But obviously there's that voice in the back of my head of imposter syndrome of like, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What if it takes a little bit longer than I thought? And, we could play the what if game all day. I don't know. I don't think there's a way that you can fail. I think that, it's more like if you allegedly failed at something, you probably gave up before you were able to find success. So I'm trying to lean into that. Again, it's so much easier said than done. And I'm saying these things to you, but do I live by it? I'm trying. I'm trying to live by it. But it's like, I don't know, like right now I'm thinking about like, I say a lot of vulgar words and my podcast name literally has a cuss word in it. And should I change that? Because I know that certain like brand safety, they want to be associated with clean brands and maybe like people who don't have a lot of cussing. But also like the swearing feels authentic to me, unfortunately. Filtering myself to not say the words like fucking doesn't feel authentic. And unfortunately, like the words that I live by is like, I don't think there's anything wrong with swear words. I think there's something wrong with calling people names. But like if you're, if you stub your toe and you say like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, I don't know. I feel like I use them as like expressive adjectives to like spice up and like hit my point home. And it just feels like filtering myself to turn that off. And then I'm like, okay, well, I could bleep it, or do I change the name of the podcast? And like, why would brands want to work with me if their brand is clean? And like, so I'm trying to find that mix between like, how do I stay authentic? Because even when I started any of this content stuff, I don't want to do anything solely for the purpose of viewership, solely for the purpose of engagement. And I think you can tell in the first 2 seasons of this podcast, it really is me. I will say, I look back at that stuff proudly. It's very authentically me. But it's not at all trying to adhere to the algorithm, to what YouTube wants to push, what TikTok wants to push. And so now I feel like I'm trying to to bridge the gap between being my authentic self and trying to adhere to my purpose, which is to connect to other people who may be struggling with similar issues and destigmatize and normalize talking about these issues, such as, poor relationship with parents, money, mental health, all the above. So how do I bridge that gap between that and also like, at the end of the day, I have to make money. You know what I mean? And so it's like, how do I make money for me so that I can support my life and do this for a living and hopefully like connect to more people and, hopefully be a change for good. Like, I think that's all that I really care about. And it does feel like my life's purpose. Like, to be honest with you, like it sounds like so broad and like general, but like if that's my life's, like if there's any purpose that I have, it's just like to connect to other people, to make other people feel seen and heard and understood. And I do feel like I can proudly say that I do that at my job. I know that I do. I know that I connect to my clients. I know that they feel safe with me. I know that they feel that they can come to me or tell me what's actually going on in their life. Or I know that they feel safe to just say, hey, I don't really feel like up for chatting today. And I'm really proud of that. And I'm proud of my ability to make others feel seen and heard. And I think it comes from, past trauma of not really feeling seen or heard as a child and, learning that like, I don't want to make anyone else feel this way. But, it all happens for a reason. And so I'm just struggling. Okay. I just feel like, I don't know. There's like the negative side and the positive, right? So I could lean into the negative and be like, you've been doing this podcast for almost 3 years, for 3 seasons. You haven't made a dime off of it. You haven't monetized it. What are you doing? Is this really worth it? Are you failing? Like, whatever. And then there's the other side of like, wait, no, like I have uploaded and published 2 full seasons and I'm halfway through a third, not halfway through a third, 1/4 the way through a third. of episodes that I'm proud of, that I'm proud to put my name behind, with a podcast cover that I'm proud of the graphics, and, you know, an editing style that I feel proud of, and an intro video that I like and I feel like, you know, represents me. I have a podcast that represents me authentically, and like that's something to be proud of. So I'm trying to lean into that and just lean into like consistency is key, you know? Like, sure, maybe it's been 3 seasons and you haven't made a dime, but if in 2 years you're making a full-time salary off of this, you're not gonna give a fuck what you were doing in 2025. Like, all of a sudden it's gonna be worth it. You know what I mean? So it's so easy to sit around and shit on yourself, and I'm really trying to not do that. But the future is so uncertain, and I think it feels even more uncertain when you have these goals and you're not really sure how or when or where or why to get there. I've been focusing more on TikTok, but then it's like, do I want to do TikTok? Because the only thing I found that I really want to do and I enjoy doing is the podcast. I love it. I love talking. I could do this forever. Like, long form content feels like it's for me. I'm a yapper at the end of the day. People's first question when they find out I have a podcast with no guests is, how do you know what to say? Like, if you guys could cut open my brain, there would be 1 million thoughts. There would be, like, I swear, 2 to 3 times more thoughts than the average person. My college roommate used to say, she's a med student now, which is funny. She's in med school. She used to be like, I wish I could study your brain. Like, just while we'd be talking about something. And I'd be like, oh, okay. I don't know what that means. I think it's a compliment, though. Like, I really have a lot of thoughts, and I think about things thoroughly and very deeply, and I try to think of things from multiple aspects and multiple perspectives, and sometimes it's my biggest detriment, you know. Sometimes it's a big fault. Sometimes it paralyzes me from doing things. When I'm thinking about content, what am I uploading and what am I talking about, I'm thinking about how these things affect people in my life. So my goal for this season is also to get a little more open, cut a little bit deeper, be a little more authentic, talk about the things that you really want to talk about, Amber. You want to talk about your issues with your mom. What's stopping you? And knowing that that could really help somebody else who has a poor relationship with their mom. This could help. If it even helps one person feel less alone, it's worth it. But then I run into these things of, like, I'm thinking of this from all aspects, right? So I'm thinking about, what if my dad sees it? What if my mom sees it? What if they call me? What if they ask me about it? What am I going to say? What if my aunt sees it? What if my uncle sees it? What if my cousins see it? And don't get me wrong, I think it's wise in the content and entertainment industry to be thinking about cancel culture and, you know, thinking before you speak and not just yapping on about something. But, you know, an episode or 2 ago, I was talking about a stalker situation that I had, and it was a real fear of mine of releasing that episode. This is my life. This is a real thing that happened to me. This is a real person and who may very well watch this episode and not be very happy with me for publishing it. There's another episode where I talk about sexual harassment in the gym and, you know, why it wasn't taking male clients anymore. And, you know, that specific client may listen to it, but also my job may listen to it. But it's also, but think about the women who may listen to it and feel seen and heard, who have experienced these things. You know, thinking about, you know, any woman or man who may have had a stalker situation and feel seen and heard from this content. And that's why I think it's important, but I'm having trouble challenging myself and putting myself on display in the name of talking about it. Because it's hard. Shit's hard. But then again, you know, is the name, you know, a detriment to brands or even the algorithm? So many thoughts. So this is what I'm saying. Like, sometimes it's a detriment to be thinking about all things from all different perspectives at all times. You know, one of my close friends said to me one time, she was like, I feel like you are really good at seeing, like, zooming out and seeing the bigger picture and seeing, like, an isolated incident from multiple perspectives. And she was like, I really like that about you. I respect that. Because she was like, sometimes I feel like I get stuck in my own lane. I can only see things from my view. And I think that was a huge compliment. Because I do try to be thoughtful when I say things or when I speak, or, you know, when somebody's asking me for advice, or, you know, I'm having a conversation with a client about nutrition or Ozempic or whatever. I'm thinking about all perspectives of how they may interpret it, how they may think about it, how my goal is not to shame anybody, but my goal is to make them feel uplifted and supported, even if they're maybe not, you know, doing something not so great. But again, acknowledging their own autonomy in their own ability to make their own decisions about what they may or may not want to do with their body or their religion, or their religion, with their body or their relationship or whatever. So I pride myself in that because I try to take that approach all the time. But also it can be exhausting. It can be super exhausting thinking about all these things at once. And even trying to upload content and thinking about how one wrong move and you could get canceled. So, but also it's like, that's the game you chose, Amber. This is the game you wanted to play. So that's like what I want to do with my life is I want to help people and make people feel seen and heard on a bigger scale through content. And I'm just trying to find different mediums of how to do that, different structures of how to do that, short form, long form content, and how to do that, and how to monetize it so that I can live off of it and hopefully help more people eventually. And then also get the things that I want out of life, which should be like owning property or, having a family maybe or a partner and that sort of thing. My goal is not to be the biggest creator ever, to be honest with you. It never was and it never will be. My goal is to be my authentic self and help people. And I think if I have an audience of like, I don't know, 30,000 people, 10,000 people who really trust me and I really trust them and we feel connected and I get to interact with them on my comment section and my community, like that's all I really want. For me, it's not about being the biggest creator. I think I've mentioned this, but if you follow my TikTok, I have 2 videos with over like 8 million views and I kind of hate them. It's like, it's not a reflection of me. It's not the best video. I mean, they're funny, they're silly, and I like a little bit of humor, but it's not my brand or what I'm about or how I want to present myself. I'm not disappointed in those videos, but obviously it sucks because again, it's a game. You're playing the algorithm. What do people want to see? Not what you want them to see. So I don't know. I want to focus on building a tight-knit community of a smaller audience who I'm very connected to because I don't know. And then eventually maybe hosting like events. My close friend really wants to get into eventually doing wellness events. I'm like, I would love to, collaborate with her eventually if I had like a really close-knit audience of, people who would maybe want to go to events and be able to, do wellness things together. She's so cute. She just the other day started a little TikTok account. It's called Girls Gone Nature. Go follow it if you're listening. And, she wants to start a hiking club for the girlies. And I'm like, I love this. I love entrepreneur women. They are so empowering and inspiring to me. And I told her, I was like, this is the first step in a huge journey. And I'm so excited with you because the name is so cute and I love it. And Girls Gone Nature is very cute. I was like, GGN? Okay. And I don't know. I'm very grateful. I'm feeling very grateful and trying to keep a positive outlook for the future because I have a few close friends. Another friend of mine, she's actually coming over in like an hour, who she's a traveler. She's a little travel bug. And one of her goals she's thinking about is like, she wants to find a way to help travelers, like when they're traveling, like tourists and stuff, to purchase more from local vendors versus like the chain and corporate people that like kind of prey on tourists, so that tourists can help support the local community and the economy. And I'm just like, how lucky am I to be like in the presence and so close to these women who like, I just find them so inspiring. Like, I'm like, and I get to meet you at the beginning of this journey. I'm like, I can see it 10 years from now. Me and my friend Olivia, she's hosting a wellness event. I'm posting about it with my content. Some of my followers are showing up, and maybe it's like a little yoga retreat. Maybe it's a hike, like whatever the case may be. And then, maybe I'm traveling to Berlin and I'm going to see my friend Alex there, who's got her little shop set up that's only local vendors. And that's life. I can see it. I can see it now. It's so close. I can grab it. So, that's what we're talking about this week, is, trusting the process, trusting yourself. And if you have these big dreams and aspirations, I'm telling you right fucking now, lean in, listen fucking close, listen good. You are capable of that shit. I swear on my life, you are capable of anything that you set your mind to. I was watching this TikTok. I thought it was fantastic. And it was all about like, listen, it would not be in your gut. It would not be in your heart. It would not be in your soul if you weren't capable of it. It simply wouldn't be there. And I thought about that and I thought, you know what? I've never thought about being a doctor. And that's because I couldn't. And also I wouldn't, and I wouldn't want to. Because it's not in the stars for me. It's not in my soul. It's not in my heart. But this stuff is, and it's there for a reason. And I have a purpose. And I'm gonna fucking get that shit. And so are you. Like, so are you. So if you're watching this video, if you're listening to on Spotify, on YouTube, please drop a comment. Tell me your biggest fucking dreams. Tell me what you're on the road to achieve. I don't care if you've never even taken a single step in that direction. Just voicing it and putting it out into the world, like that manifesting shit, it works. I'm not even talking about like woo-woo manifesting. I'm talking about literally sitting and visualizing your life and your dreams and your success. So start by dropping a comment, being like, Amber, this is my fucking hopes and dreams. I really want to be this. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's, I want to be the fucking biggest actor in Hollywood and I've never even taken an acting class. I've never even stepped foot on a stage. Tell me what the dreams are, because I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna be like, and you go get that shit. And we're gonna build a supportive community here of people who are just interested in uplifting each other, supporting each other, being a better version of yourself in whatever capacity and whatever that means for you. That is what I've got for you today. If you're lost, if you're struggling, I'm right there with you. We are going to get out on the other side of this. I swear the struggle is worth it. The uncomfortability is going to be worth it. So that's what I've got for you this week. I will see you in the next one, because this shit is hard.